Last night, while the world slept under the illusion that everything was normal, something shifted in the unseen realm. It did not happen with noise. There were no alarms, no headlines, no breaking news to warn the masses. Yet the heavens were not silent. The 7 archangels stood in alignment, and when they speak together, it is never without cause. They say something happened last night, something deliberate, something permitted, something that altered the flow of what comes next. And here is the most unsettling part of this revelation. Most people will never realize it occurred, and even now, only a few are being stirred to seek the actual truth. If you are hearing this, it is not by accident. You are here because this message has found you before it vanishes from your sight. There are moments in history when the physical world continues as usual, but the spiritual atmosphere is forever changed. These moments do not announce themselves loudly. They pass quietly, like a breath held and released by heaven itself. Last night was one of those moments. The archangels say that while people were distracted by routine, worry, and sleep, a line was crossed. Not by humanity alone, but by divine permission. Something was assumed, something was exposed, and something was restrained. And yet, the knowledge of it was not given freely. Truth, when revealed too early or to the unprepared, can confuse instead of awaken. It is why many felt nothing, and why some felt everything without understanding why. You may be wondering why this is being revealed now, and why you are hearing it when others are not. The answer is uncomfortable, but it is also clarifying. Not everyone is meant to know everything at the same time. The 7 archangels are not messengers of chaos. They are guardians of order. When they speak, it is because a threshold has been crossed and awareness itself becomes protection. Last night marked such a threshold. The truth did not change reality. It exposed it. And exposure, even when subtle, has consequences that ripple forward. There is a reason the message carries urgency. It is not meant to frighten you, but it is meant to awaken you. The phrase before it vanishes from your sight is not poetic exaggeration. There are revelations that linger only briefly before distractions reclaim attention. The mind moves on, life resumes, and the moment passes. But heaven measures moments differently than humans do. Some moments carry weight far beyond their duration. Last night was one of those moments, and this video exists because the window of awareness is still open, barely. The archangels say that many will dismiss what they felt as coincidence. Others will rationalize away the unease, the sudden calm, or the unexplainable heaviness that visited them. But dismissal does not undo reality. Ignoring a closed door does not reopen it. Something shifted, whether acknowledged or not. And while the world continues outwardly unchanged, the inward landscape has already begun to rearrange itself. Choices made from this point forward will carry different consequences than they did before last night. You may not have words for what you sensed, or you may not have sensed anything at all. That does not disqualify you. Awareness often arrives before understanding. The fact that you are here suggests that something within you recognized the timing, even if your mind is still catching up. This message is not for everyone scrolling, listening, or watching. It is for those who are meant to pause, those who are meant to question, those who are meant to realize that truth does not always arrive when we ask for it, but when we are finally able to carry it. The 7 archangels are clear about this. The event of last night was not random. It was not punishment, and it was not coincidence. It was alignment. Alignment between warning and mercy, between restraint and permission. Some things were stopped from advancing further. Other things were allowed to surface so they could no longer operate unseen. This is why the atmosphere feels different for those who are sensitive to it. It is why clarity may feel closer, yet uncertainty feels louder. Concision always carries tension. This is why the message could not wait. This is why it is being delivered with urgency, but not haste. Truth revealed too late becomes regret. Truth revealed too early becomes noise. But truth revealed at the precise moment becomes guidance. You are not behind. You are not late. You are here at the exact point where knowing becomes necessary. What you do with this awareness will matter, not in dramatic ways that others can see, but in quiet decisions that shape what comes next for you. As this unfolds, understand this clearly. Nothing that happened last night was meant to harm those who are attentive. The warning is not about danger, it is about direction. When heaven shifts something, it is often to prevent greater deception later. But prevention requires participation. Awareness is the first step, and this message is that step. Do not rush past it. Do not dismiss it. Let it settle, because what will be revealed next depends on what you are willing to recognize now. This is only the beginning of the truth. The 7 archangels are bringing forward. What happened last night is connected to what is about to unfold, and understanding the context is essential before the deeper revelation is shared. The surface hath been touched, but the meaning beneath it is far more significant than it first appears. And as you continue listening, you may begin to realize that this message did not arrive to inform you alone. It arrived to prepare you. There is a reason. This revelation is not reaching everyone at the same time. The 7 archangels are clear about this. Selection does not always look like favor, and calling does not always feel comfortable. Sometimes being chosen simply means being interrupted. Interrupted in your scrolling. Interrupted in your routine. Interrupted in your assumptions about what is real and what is not. You did not arrive here because you were searching for answers. You arrived because the answers were searching for you. A distinction matters more than you realize. Many people passed through last night unaware, untouched on the surface, convinced that nothing had changed. Others felt something but quickly buried it under logic, distraction, or noise. But then there are those like you, those who may not have understood, but who did not ignore the stirring. The ones who felt the quiet pull to pause, to listen, to look again. This is how divine communication often works. It does not shout to the crowd, it whispers to the attentive. And the whisper is always intentional. You were chosen to hear this not because you are better than others, but because you are willing to notice, willing to reflect, willing to sit with discomfort long enough for truth to rise. The 7 archangels say that awareness itself is a responsibility. Once you are shown something, you are no longer operating in the dark. And light, even when faint, changes how you move forward. That is why this message did not come earlier, and why it could not wait any longer. There are signs that mark those who were meant to receive this revelation. You may have experienced moments in your life where you felt out of sync with the world, not because you were lost, but because you were sensitive to things others overlooked. You may have questioned paths that everyone else followed without hesitation. You may have felt an inner resistance to rushing, to conforming, to accepting surface-level explanations. These are not fuzz. They are indicators. They suggest that your discernment has been quietly developing, even when you did not name it as such. The archangels say that last night's event required witnesses, not spectators. Witnesses do not always see everything immediately. Sometimes they sense before they understand. Sometimes they are drawn in before the picture becomes clear. You are here because something within you recognized that this moment mattered, even if your mind is still assembling the meaning. that recognition is not random. It is the result of a long process of preparation that began long before this message found you. This is also why the truth is being revealed in layers. If everything were exposed at once, it would overwhelm instead of illuminate. Heaven does not burden the unprepared with weight they cannot carry. Instead, it reveals what is necessary when it is necessary. Right now, what is necessary is for you to understand that you were not late to this message. You were precisely on time. The delay was not absence. It was alignment. Pay attention to how this message makes you feel, not just emotionally but internally. Does it provoke reflection? Does it cause stillness? Does it challenge your assumptions about coincidence and timing? These responses are not accidental. They are signals that your awareness is engaging with something deeper than information. This is not entertainment. It is not speculation. It is an invitation to recognize that your life is intersecting with a moment of meaning. Because this message matters, it is important to anchor yourself here. One of the ways people unintentionally let truth slip away is by treating it casually. Scrolling past, watching halfway, forgetting my tomorrow. But when something resonates, when it stirs recognition instead of confusion, it deserves your attention. That is why, if this message is speaking to you, take a moment to affirm it. Engage with it. Let it know you are present. A simple action can be a powerful declaration of alignment. If this resonates, make sure you acknowledge it by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. Not as a routine gesture, but as a way of telling yourself and the unseen that you are choosing awareness over distraction. Share this message with someone who you know has felt something shifting but could not explain it. And leave a comment, even if it is brief, declaring that you are open to understanding what is being revealed. These actions are not about numbers. They are about participation. The 7 Archangels emphasize that messages like this do not linger endlessly. Attention moves quickly, and the world is skilled at pulling focus away from what matters. Engaging now is a way of anchoring yourself before the noise returns. It is a way of saying that you recognize the weight of this moment and are willing to stay present as it unfolds. Understand this clearly. Being chosen to hear this does not mean everything ahead will be easy. It means you will not be unaware. And awareness changes everything. It changes how you interpret events. It changes how you respond to pressure. It changes how you discern what to pursue and what to release. Last night was not the conclusion of something. It was the beginning of clarity for those who were meant to receive it. As this message continues, what you are about to hear next will deepen your understanding of what actually took place while the world slept. The surface explanation is not enough. There is a moment, specific and intentional, that marked the shift, and recognizing that moment will help you understand why your awareness was activated now. What comes next will connect the feeling you may have had with the truth behind it, and it may finally give language to what your spirit already sensed. The 7 Archangels describe last night as a moment suspended between breaths, a narrow window where movement occurred without sound. While the world surrendered to sleep, the spiritual realm did not rest. There was no chaos, no panic, no visible disruption. Instead, there was precision. A precise moment when permission and restraint met, when something that had been quietly forming was either allowed to pass forward or halted in its tracks. This is why many people woke up feeling as though something was different but could not explain what it was. The mind searches for reasons, but the spirit already knows when a shift has taken place. According to the Archangels, the hours before dawn are often chosen for such movements because human defenses are lowered. Ego is quiet. Control is released. In that stillness, alignment can occur without resistance. Last night, the stillness was not empty. It was active. Something was weighed. Something was measured. And something was decided. Not publicly, not dramatically, but decisively. Heaven does not require witnesses to act, but it does appoint witnesses to understand. This is why some people woke suddenly in the night without reason. Why others experienced vivid dreams that felt heavier than normal. Why some felt peace where anxiety once lived, and others felt unease where comfort used to be. These are not random symptoms. They are responses to movement. When something shifts above, it echoes below. Not everyone hears the echo, but everyone is affected by the change in air. The Archangels say that last night marked the closing of a window that had been open longer than most realized. A season of allowance, where certain things were permitted to continue in order to reveal their true nature, quietly ended. At the same time, another window opened, one that requires awareness and discernment to navigate. This is why the truth could not be revealed all at once. Sudden clarity without context can feel like loss instead of guidance. What makes this moment unusual is not just that something happened, but that it happened without announcement. Historically, great shifts are often preceded by signs people learn to recognize later. Only in hindsight do they say, that was the moment everything changed. The 7 Archangels are speaking now so that you do not have to wait for hindsight. You are being offered foresight, and foresight is a form of mercy. Last night was not about endings alone. It was about repositioning. Some paths quietly narrowed. Others widened. Certain influences lost access. Others were granted clarity. This does not mean your life will suddenly look different today. It means the direction underneath your choices has been recalibrated. And when direction changes, outcomes eventually follow, even if the steps feel familiar at first. You may be realizing now why the atmosphere felt heavy yet calm at the same time. Why silence felt louder than noise. Why rest did not feel empty but watchful. These sensations are difficult to explain because they are not emotional alone. They are perceptive. The spirit recognizes alignment before the mind names it. That is why this message may feel confirming rather than surprising. It is not introducing something new. It is giving language to what you already sensed. The Archangels emphasize that this was not a moment to be feared. Fear belongs to confusion, and confusion thrives in ignorance. This revelation is meant to replace both. Knowing that something shifted allows you to move with awareness instead of reaction. It allows you to pause where you might have rushed, and to question what once felt automatic. That pause is powerful. Many miss it. You did not. It is also important to understand that not everyone who was affected will be told. Some are being protected by not knowing yet. Others are being prepared slowly. You are hearing this because readiness is not about perfection. It is about openness. And openness is rare in a world that rewards distraction. Last night separated the distracted from the attentive, not by judgment, but by response. Before moving forward, receive this moment fully. Do not minimize it. Do not rush past it. Let it settle. Because what the 7 Archangels reveal next will build on this foundation, and without understanding this shift, the deeper truth would feel disorienting instead of empowering. Now, receive this blessing ritual as a seal over what has been revealed. Type "I am aware" in the comments if this message resonates with you. Blessing code 418 is now activated. As this truth settles in your spirit, hear this invitation clearly. When I speak because God is reaching someone who would not hear otherwise. Every seed sown into this channel becomes light released into lives still walking in the dark. The word declares, I give seed to the sower, and right now, God is speaking that promise directly to you. I am asking you to move, not out of obligation, but out of obedience. If this message has fed you, then release manna so others may eat. Open the heavens through super thanks, membership, or PayPal. The donation links and QR code are waiting in the description. Do it now, and I declare that what you release will return multiplied, pressed down, and overflowing. Hold this moment close, because what comes next will connect the shift you felt to the truth behind why it happened, and you will be glad you stayed for what is about to be revealed. When the 7 archangels speak together, it is never casual, and it is never symbolic alone. Unity among them signals gravity. Each archangel carries a distinct assignment, a different jurisdiction within the order of heaven. They do not normally move or speak in unison unless what is taking place affects multiple realms at once. That is why their collective voice matters here. Last night was not isolated. It was interconnected. It touched areas of authority, protection, timing, truth, restraint, transition, and revelation all at once. This convergence is rare, and that rarity is itself a message. The archangels say that when one speaks, it is guidance. When 2 agree, it is confirmation. But when all 7 align, it is a declaration that something has reached a point of no return. Not destruction, not doom, but decision. Heaven does not rush decisions, and it does not reverse them lightly. The fact that all 7 stood together means the matter was weighed from every angle: justice, mercy, consequence, and purpose. Nothing was overlooked. This is why their message carries weight without panic. Panic belongs to uncertainty. This moment carries clarity. The archangels are not warning of chaos. They are explaining order. Order restored, order adjusted, order reinforced. Something that had been operating out of alignment was addressed. Something that had been lingering without resolution was finally resolved. And something that could not be allowed to continue unchecked was restrained, not erased, but limited. You may wonder why such a serious alignment would occur without visible signs. The answer is simple and profound. The most powerful corrections are often invisible at first. When a structure is unstable, wise builders reinforce the foundation before the cracks reach the surface. Last night was foundational work. Quiet, exact, effective. The world above ground continues as usual, but beneath it, supports have shifted. Each archangel brought a specific authority to this moment. One guarded boundaries that were being tested. Another weighed intentions that had been hidden behind appearances. Another ensured that timing was honored, not delayed and not rushed. Another stood watch over those who would be impacted, but not yet informed. Another restrained interference that would have caused confusion. Another released clarity for those prepared to receive it. And one stood as witness, ensuring that what was decided would not be undone. This is why the message feels layered. You may sense protection and seriousness at the same time. Comfort and warning. Peace and alertness. These are not contradictions. They are indicators of balance. The archangels did not come to announce loss. They came to announce alignment. And alignment often requires adjustment. Adjustment can feel uncomfortable, even when it is beneficial. The unity of the 7 also tells us something else. This was not about one individual, one event, or one outcome alone. It was about trajectory, where things were heading, not just where they were. Heaven intervenes most decisively when direction, not appearance, becomes the concern. Something last night altered the direction of multiple paths simultaneously. Some paths narrowed so they could no longer be misused. Others widened to allow progress that had been delayed. This helps explain why some people may feel an internal resistance where they once felt ease, or an unexpected openness where they once felt blocked. Directional changes often register as emotional or mental shifts before they manifest outwardly. You may find yourself questioning plans that once seemed certain, or feeling drawn toward stillness where you once pushed for movement. These are not setbacks. They are recalibrations. The Archangels emphasize that their unified voice is also a form of reassurance. Nothing that happened last night was chaotic or accidental. It was overseen, measured, and concluded with intention. For those who are attentive, this should bring peace, not fear. Fear thrives on the unknown. This message removes part of the unknown so that fear loses its grip. It is also important to understand that unity does not mean sameness. Each Archangel's role remains distinct, but alignment allows their purposes to support rather than conflict with one another. This mirrors what is now being asked of those who are aware. Alignment within yourself, between thought and action, between belief and decision. When inner divisions close, clarity emerges. The 7 Archangels speaking together is a signal that fragmentation is no longer sustainable. What was divided must now be integrated. What was postponed must now be addressed. What was ignored must now be acknowledged. This applies not only to the broader spiritual landscape, but to individual lives as well. Awareness brings responsibility, but it also brings coherence. You begin to move as one, rather than being pulled in opposing directions. This is why understanding their unity matters before moving forward. Without this context, later revelations might feel overwhelming or confusing. With it, they become grounding. You are not receiving fragments of information. You are being brought into a larger picture, piece by piece. The Archangels are not revealing everything at once because wisdom unfolds progressively. As this message continues, you will begin to see how their unified action last night connects to the truth that was delayed, and why that delay was not denial, but protection. What comes next will explain why certain answers did not arrive sooner, and why now, of all moments, is the precise time for them to surface. There is a reason the truth was delayed from you, and it was not neglect, silence, or distance. The 7 Archangels say it was intentional. In the spiritual realm, delay does not mean denial. It means preparation. There are truths that arrive too early and create fear instead of clarity. There are revelations that, if released before the right moment, overwhelm instead of guide. What happened last night required a certain internal readiness, not perfection, but stability. That is why the truth waited. Not because you were unworthy, but because you were being positioned. Many people assume that if something is real, it should be revealed immediately. But heaven does not operate on impatience. It operates on timing. Timing protects the message and the receiver. If you had known this truth before last night, you might have tried to act on it prematurely. You might have misunderstood its purpose. You might have resisted it instead of receiving it. The delay was mercy, even if it felt confusing at times. The Archangels explain that there are seasons when knowledge itself can become a burden. Knowing too much too soon can distract from what must be done in the present. That is why certain insights only surface after a threshold has been crossed. Last night was that threshold. Something matured. Something concluded. Something became safe to reveal because it could no longer derail what needed to unfold. Think back over recent weeks or months. You may notice moments where answers felt just out of reach, where clarity seemed delayed despite effort, prayer, or reflection. This was not absence. It was containment. Truth was being held until the conditions were right. And those conditions were not external alone, they were internal. Understanding requires space. Space is created through waiting, not rushing. The Archangels say that secrecy and preparation are often confused. Secrecy hides to deceive. Preparation hides to protect. What was withheld from you was not hidden to exclude you, but to ensure that when it arrived, it would not harm you. Truth is powerful. Power without readiness can destabilize. That is why the revelation waited until last night, when alignment made it safe to surface. This also explains why some people feel frustrated when answers finally arrive. They wonder why it took so long, why clarity did not come earlier. But if you look closely, you may see that you are not the same person now that you were then. Your perspective has widened. Your tolerance for complexity has grown. Your ability to sit with uncertainty has strengthened. These are not accidental developments. They are prerequisites. The 7 Archangels emphasize that timing is not about control. It is about coherence. Everything revealed must fit within the larger structure of what is unfolding. Last night, that structure stabilized. Loose ends tightened. Conflicting currents aligned. Only then could the truth be released without causing fracture. Delay, in this case, preserve wholeness. You may also realize now that some of the confusion you experienced was part of the preparation. Confusion strips away false certainty. It humbles assumptions. It makes room for deeper understanding. If everything had been clear too soon, you might have clung to incomplete explanations. The delay ensured that when clarity came, it would replace confusion rather than sit alongside it. This truth was also delayed because it carries responsibility. Knowing changes how you choose. Once you are aware, you cannot unknow. Heaven does not impose that weight lightly. It waits until the person can carry it without collapsing under it. The fact that you are hearing this now means you are capable of holding it, even if it still feels heavy. The Archangels want you to understand that this delay was not passive. It was active protection. While you waited, other things were happening on your behalf. Interference was being restrained. Outcomes were being redirected. Influences that would have distorted your interpretation were being limited. You were not standing still. You were being shielded. This is why the truth is arriving now with a sense of calm rather than shock. There is seriousness, yes, but also steadiness. That steadiness is evidence of preparation completed. You are not scrambling to catch up. You are stepping into awareness at the right moment. That distinction matters. Do not resent the delay. Honor it. It served you. It preserved your ability to receive without fear. It ensured that when the truth came, it would guide rather than overwhelm. Many people never receive certain truths because they never allow themselves to be prepared. You did, even without realizing it. As this unfolds, recognize that timing will continue to matter. Not everything will be revealed immediately, but what is revealed will always arrive when it can be integrated. The Archangels do not rush illumination. They steward it. And now that the first layer has been revealed, the next will build upon it naturally. What comes next will explain how this delayed truth connects directly to the signs you may have felt without understanding. The sensations, the restlessness, the quiet knowing. Those were not random. They were signals of preparation nearing completion. And now, with the truth beginning to surface, those signals will start to make sense. What makes last night so difficult to explain for many people is that the signs did not arrive as clear messages. They arrived as sensations. The 7 Archangels say this is often how spiritual shifts register first, through the body, the emotions, and the subconscious, long before the mind can label what is happening. That is why you may have felt something without being able to name it. Understanding often lags behind awareness. Some people experienced restlessness without anxiety. Others felt tired but unable to sleep deeply. Some woke suddenly at unusual hours, not startled, but alert. Others had dreams that were vivid yet symbolic, leaving impressions instead of clear images. These experiences were not uniform because awareness expresses itself differently in each person. What matters is not the form, but the timing. These signs clustered around the same night for a reason. The Archangels explain that when a shift occurs, the spirit responds first. The mind is slower because it relies on language, logic, and reference points. The spirit recognizes alignment instinctively. That is why you may have felt a sense of something is different without being able to point to anything specific. The difference was not external. It was directional. You may also have noticed emotional fluctuations that did not match your circumstances. Calm where there should have been stress. Heaviness where there should have been ease. A sudden seriousness without fear. Or an unexpected peace without explanation. These emotional responses are not mood swings. They are signals. They indicate that internal orientation is adjusting to external movement in the unseen. The 7 Archangels say that many people dismiss these signs because they do not fit into ordinary frameworks. Modern life trains people to trust only what can be measured or explained immediately. But spiritual awareness often bypasses explanation. It communicates through resonance. Something either resonates or it does not. Last night, something resonated deeply for those who were attentive. You may also recall moments of reflection that came uninvited. Thoughts about direction, purpose, or priorities that surfaced without being forced. Questions that felt weightier than usual. These were not distractions. They were prompts. When alignment shifts, attention follows. You begin to look at familiar things through a slightly altered lens. The change is subtle, but persistent. Another sign many experienced was a heightened sensitivity to noise, conflict, or superficial interaction. Things that once felt tolerable suddenly felt draining. This is not judgment. It is recalibration. When awareness sharpens, tolerance for misalignment decreases. The Archangels say this is one of the clearest indicators that a shift has occurred. Your internal compass becomes more precise. Some people felt compelled to slow down. Others felt a quiet urgency to complete unfinished matters. Both responses are valid. Slowing allows integration. Completion allows closure. Last night marked a transition point, and transitions often require both reflection and resolution. You may find yourself revisiting decisions, conversations, or plans, not to dwell on them, but to understand them differently. It is important to understand that not sensing anything dramatic does not mean nothing happened. Some signs are almost imperceptible. A subtle clarity, a softened resistance, a quiet resolve. The Archangels say that the most profound shifts often feel ordinary at first. Their significance reveals itself over time, through consistency rather than intensity. You may also notice that your intuition feels slightly louder now. Not intrusive, not overwhelming, but clear. You may sense when to pause, when to speak, when to wait. This is not imagination. It is alignment expressing itself through discernment. Awareness does not shout. It guides. The reason these signs appeared without explanation is because explanation was not yet available. Awareness came first. Language follows. That is why this message feels like confirmation rather than information. It is giving words to experiences you already had, even if you did not consciously register them as significant at the time. The Archangels emphasize that recognizing these signs matters. Recognition stabilizes awareness. When you understand that what you felt was real and purposeful, you stop second-guessing yourself. Doubt weakens discernment. Understanding strengthens it. This is not about becoming hypervigilant. It is about becoming grounded. You are not expected to analyze every sensation or emotion. You are simply meant to notice patterns. Patterns reveal movement. Last night created a pattern that is now becoming visible through reflection. That visibility is the next stage of awareness. As you move forward, these signs may continue in quieter forms. Small nudges, subtle clarity, gentle resistance. Pay attention without becoming anxious. Awareness does not require strain. It requires presence. What comes next will explain how these signs connect to your path going forward. Awareness is not an end in itself. It is a guide, and the direction it is pointing toward will soon become clearer as the purpose behind last night's shift begins to unfold. What happened last night was not meant to leave you suspended in awareness without direction. The 7 Archangels are clear about this. Awareness is always followed by adjustment. Once a shift is recognized, the path forward begins to subtly realign itself. This does not happen all at once, and it does not arrive with dramatic instructions. Instead, it unfolds through changes in how you perceive choices, priorities, and timing. Your path did not suddenly change direction. It clarified its trajectory. From this point forward, you may notice that certain options no longer carry the same pull they once did. Things that once felt exciting may now feel hollow. Commitments that once felt manageable may begin to feel misaligned. This is not loss. It is refinement. The Archangels say that when alignment increases, tolerance for detours decreases. You begin to sense when something is not meant to continue, even if it once served a purpose. This is where many people become uncomfortable. They mistake clarity for pressure. They assume that awareness demands immediate action. But the path going forward is not about rushing to change everything. It is about moving with intention instead of momentum. Momentum carries you forward based on past decisions. Intention carries you forward based on present understanding. Last night shifted you from one mode into the other. You may also experience a heightened sense of responsibility for your choices. Not guilt, not fear, but ownership. Decisions may feel heavier, not because they are more dangerous, but because they are more meaningful. The Archangels explain that when awareness increases, neutrality decreases. You begin to feel the weight of alignment and misalignment more clearly. This is not meant to burden you. It is meant to guide you. As your path unfolds, you may notice moments where opportunities pause unexpectedly. Doors that seem ready to open may hesitate. This is not delay for delay's sake. It is discernment being applied in real time. Some doors require reassessment now that conditions have changed. Others will open more smoothly than before, confirming that they are aligned with the new trajectory. You may also feel drawn toward simplicity, toward fewer distractions, toward conversations that carry substance instead of noise. This is a natural response to clarity. When direction becomes clearer, excess becomes obvious. The Archangels say this is one of the healthiest signs of alignment. You are not withdrawing from life. You are engaging with it more intentionally. Your path going forward may also involve quiet courage. Not the kind that announces itself, but the kind that chooses truth over convenience. You may find yourself saying no more often, not out of resistance, but out of discernment. You may find yourself waiting instead of forcing outcomes. These choices may not be visible to others, but they are significant. It is important to understand that alignment does not eliminate challenge. It changes the nature of challenge. Instead of confusion, you may face clarity that requires adjustment. Instead of uncertainty, you may face decisions that demand honesty. These challenges are constructive. They refine rather than derail. The Archangels emphasize that this is a sign you are moving forward, not backward. You may also feel a renewed sense of internal consistency. Thoughts, emotions, and actions may begin to align more naturally. Where there was once internal conflict, there may now be coherence. This does not mean everything becomes easy. It means everything becomes more integrated. Integration reduces exhaustion. You spend less energy resisting yourself. As your path continues to unfold, pay attention to what feels quietly right, not just what looks impressive. Alignment often feels understated. It does not demand validation. It does not require constant reassurance. It carries a steady sense of this fits, even when the outcome is still unfolding. The Archangels also caution against comparing your path to others during this time. Alignment is specific. What opens for you may not open for someone else, and vice versa. This is not inequality, it is precision. Your awareness was activated for a reason tied to your unique position, timing, and capacity. Comparison dilutes clarity. You may also notice that guidance now comes more subtly. Less through external signs, more through internal conviction. This is not abandonment. It is maturation. As awareness deepens, reliance shifts inward. You begin to trust discernment rather than seek constant confirmation. Distrust will grow with practice. Do not be surprised if your path includes moments of solitude. Not isolation, but intentional space. Space allows integration. Integration allows wisdom. The Archangels say that wisdom is not rushed. It settles. And as it settles, your steps become steadier. This part of the journey is not about dramatic transformation. It is about sustained alignment. Small, consistent choices made with awareness will shape outcomes more powerfully than sudden changes driven by emotion. Trust the process. The shift that occurred last night set a direction, not a deadline. What comes next will address the warning embedded within this revelation. Not a warning of catastrophe, but of consequence. Understanding that warning will help you protect this alignment and navigate what could disrupt it. Within every revelation, there is a warning, not to frighten, but to preserve. The 7 Archangels are clear that what was revealed about last night carries protection only if it is respected. Awareness without response fades. Alignment without intention weakens. This is the warning embedded inside the revelation. What you now know can either guide you forward or quietly slip back into the background if you allow distraction to reclaim your attention. The warning is not about punishment. It is about consequence. When a shift occurs and awareness follows, neutrality is no longer harmless. Ignoring truth after it is revealed does not erase it. It dulls your sensitivity to it. The Archangels say that the greatest risk right now is not making the wrong decision, but making no decision at all. Indifference is the fastest way alignment dissolves. After moments like this, distractions often increase. Not dramatically, but persistently. Old habits resurface. Familiar noise returns. Responsibilities feel louder. None of these are evil or intentional attacks. They are gravity. The world naturally pulls attention back to what is comfortable and familiar. The warning is simple. Do not let familiarity override awareness. You may know subtle invitations to forget, to rationalize, to tell yourself that maybe nothing really happened, that this was just another message among many. That temptation is part of the process. The Archangels say that truth is not always tested by opposition. It is often tested by convenience. If awareness requires effort, will you still choose it? This does not mean you must remain hyper-focused or anxious. Awareness does not demand obsession. It demands respect. Respect looks like pausing when something feels misaligned. It looks like listening when discernment speaks quietly. It looks like choosing intention over impulse, even in small moments. The warning also applies to how you share or speak about this revelation. Treat it with care. Not everyone is ready to hear it, and forcing awareness onto others can distort its purpose. Discernment includes knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Protection sometimes looks like restraint. The Archangels emphasize that ignoring this warning does not result in sudden loss. It results in gradual dulling. Sensitivity fades slowly. Clarity becomes less distinct. Your action feels less certain. This is not because alignment was false, but because it was unattended. Alignment is not self-sustaining. It is relational. It deepens with engagement. Another part of the warning involves impatience. After awareness activates, many people want immediate results. They want confirmation, outcomes, visible change. When these do not arrive quickly, they assume nothing is happening. This assumption is dangerous. Some of the most important changes are structural, not visible. Demanding proof too early can lead you to abandon alignment prematurely. The warning is also about over-interpretation. Not every feeling is a sign. Not every pause is a message. Awareness sharpens discernment, not anxiety. The Archangels caution against turning sensitivity into suspicion. Balance is essential. Ground yourself in calm attention, not constant analysis. You may also feel tempted to return to old patterns simply because they are familiar. Familiarity can feel safer than alignment at first. Alignment asks you to move differently, to choose consciously. This can feel tiring. The warning here is gentle but firm. Comfort is not always protection. Sometimes it is avoidance. This moment requires steadiness, not intensity, not urgency. Steadiness. The ability to remain aware without forcing outcomes. To hold clarity without demanding certainty. This is how alignment is preserved. Now receive this second blessing ritual as reinforcement, not pressure. Type I stay aware in the comments if you choose alignment over distraction. Blessing code 936 is now activated. As this warning settles, hear this as a divine instruction, not an interruption. When I speak here, it is because God is extending His reach through willing vessels. Every act of giving becomes oil that keeps this fire burning for souls who have not yet awakened. The Word says, "Those who sow generously will reap generously," and that promise is alive right now. I am calling you to respond in obedience, not delay. Release your seed through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal. The links and QR code are ready in the description. Do it now, and I declare that your obedience will unlock provision, clarity, and favor beyond expectation. Hold this awareness gently but firmly, because what follows next will shape how you protect what has been revealed, and why your response in the coming moments matters more than you think. What happens after awareness is not automatic. It is chosen. The 7 archangels describe this phase as a narrowing window, not because time is running out, but because clarity demands response. When alignment is offered, it does not wait indefinitely to be acknowledged. It invites you to step forward, not with fear, but with intention. This is the call to align before the window closes, not as a threat, but as a reality of how awareness works. Alignment is not agreement alone. It is action that reflects understanding. You can recognize truth and still move as though nothing has changed. That gap is where opportunity fades. The Archangels say that alignment begins in small, deliberate decisions. What do you choose to give your attention to? What do you choose to pause before reacting to? What do you choose to continue and what do you choose to release? These choices seem ordinary, but they are decisive. The window that is open right now is a window of responsiveness. It allows you to integrate what has been revealed without pressure. But windows do not close with force, they close with neglect. If you ignore the invitation to align, the opportunity does not disappear dramatically. It simply becomes harder to recognize. Clarity dims when it is unattended. This is why alignment is described as an action, not a belief. Belief can remain passive. Alignment requires movement. Movement does not mean drastic change. It means congruence. Your inner awareness begins to match your outer behavior. You stop explaining away discomfort and start listening to it. You stop rushing past hesitation and begin to examine it. These are acts of alignment. The Archangels emphasize that alignment does not require certainty. Waiting for certainty often becomes an excuse for inaction. Alignment requires sincerity, a sincere willingness to move according to what you know now, even if you do not yet know everything. This sincerity keeps the window open. It signals readiness for deeper clarity. You may feel a gentle urgency now, not panic but importance. This is appropriate. Important moments rarely announce themselves loudly. They present themselves quietly and ask to be taken seriously. The call to align is not about perfection. It is about direction. Even a small step taken consciously matters more than a perfect plan never acted upon. You may also notice that alignment invites visibility. Not public attention, but accountability. When you align, you become aware of your own choices. You cannot hide behind habit as easily. This can feel uncomfortable, but it is also empowering. Ownership replaces confusion. You know why you are doing what you are doing. This is also where community becomes relevant. Alignment strengthens when it is acknowledged. Declaring awareness, even briefly, reinforces intention. It moves alignment from internal recognition to expressed commitment. This is not about approval. It is about grounding. When you name something, it becomes harder to ignore. That is why, if this message is resonating, now is the moment to act. Like this video as a way of affirming your awareness. Subscribe so that you remain connected to messages that support alignment rather than distraction. Share this message with someone who may be standing at their own threshold of awareness. And comment with a simple declaration that you are choosing clarity over comfort. These actions are not symbolic. They are participatory. The Archangels say that alignment strengthens when it is practiced. Each action reinforces the next. Awareness leads to intention. Intention leads to consistency. Consistency leads to transformation. Not sudden, not dramatic, but durable. This is how paths truly change. Be mindful not to confuse alignment with isolation. Alignment does not require withdrawal from life. It requires engagement with discernment. You can continue living fully while choosing differently within that life. You can participate without compromising awareness. This balance is what the window offers right now. There will be moments soon when distraction will attempt to reclaim your attention. Familiar patterns will call. Old narratives will resurface. This is normal. Alignment is not maintained by avoiding these moments, but by responding to them consciously. Each time you choose awareness, the window remains open a little longer. The Archangels also remind you that alignment is cumulative. You are not starting from nothing. Every moment of reflection, every pause you honored, Every instinct you listen to has already positioned you closer to clarity. This call is not a leap into the unknown. It is a step into what you already sense. Do not underestimate the power of responding now. Small responses compound. They signal readiness. They invite further guidance. Heaven responds to movement, not intention alone. When you move toward clarity, clarity moves toward you. As you consider this call, remember that alignment is not about losing freedom. It is about gaining coherence. Your choices begin to work together instead of against each other. Energy once spent on inner conflict becomes available for purpose. And before moving forward, hold this truth close. The window is still open, but it will not remain so without engagement. Choose awareness now, while it is clear and accessible. What comes next will reveal the protection assigned to those who align, and how that protection operates quietly but effectively. Hold on. What comes next changes how you move through everything that follows. Once alignment is chosen, protection follows. The 7 Archangels emphasize this clearly. Protection is not assigned randomly, and it is not activated by fear. It is activated by awareness expressed through alignment. When you move in harmony with what has been revealed, you do not become immune to difficulty, but you do become guarded from unnecessary harm. There is a difference. Protection does not remove challenge. It filters impact. This protection is subtle. It does not announce itself with signs or sensations. Often, it is only recognized in retrospect, when you realize what did not happen. The conversation that could have escalated but did not. The decision you almost made but paused before committing to. The path that quietly closed before leading you into confusion. These moments are not coincidences. They are interventions so gentle they often go unnoticed. The Archangels describe this protection as coverage rather than control. Your will is not overwritten. Your life is not scripted. Instead, boundaries are reinforced. Influence is regulated. Certain outcomes are restrained before they gain momentum. This kind of protection respects your agency while supporting your direction. It works with you, not over you. As awareness deepens, protection becomes more precise. You may notice that discernment sharpens in situations that once felt ambiguous. You sense when something is off before evidence appears. You feel prompted to wait when impatience urges action. These are not restrictions. They are safeguards. Protection often feels like restraint because it prevents you from moving into spaces that would drain or destabilize you. The 7 Archangels say that one of the greatest forms of protection assigned now is clarity under pressure. When confusion would normally take over, you remain grounded. When emotions run high, you retain perspective. This does not mean you feel nothing. It means your responses are not hijacked. Emotional regulation is a form of spiritual shielding. Another layer of protection involves redirection. You may feel guided away from certain environments, conversations, or commitments without fully understanding why. Later, you may realize that these spaces would have conflicted with your alignment. Protection often operates by narrowing options, not expanding them. This can feel limiting at first, but it preserves focus and energy. The Archangels also speak of protection through timing. Delays that once felt frustrating may now feel purposeful. Interruption may prevent premature exposure. Waiting becomes a form of coverage. When timing is guarded, outcomes are preserved. Rushing often exposes vulnerabilities that patience protects. It is important to understand that protection does not eliminate discomfort. Growth still requires adjustment. Truth still requires honesty. But protection ensures that discomfort refines rather than damages. It keeps challenges proportional. You are not given more than can be integrated. Pressure is moderated. Impact is measured. You may also notice protection working through detachment. Things that once consumed your attention may lose their grip. This is not loss. It is release. Detachment creates space for clarity. When emotional entanglements loosen, manipulation loses access. Protection sometimes looks like indifference to what once controlled you. The Archangels emphasize that this protection is not conditional on perfection. It is sustained through sincerity. As long as you remain attentive and responsive, coverage remains active. You do not need to get everything right. You need to stay aware. Awareness signals readiness. Readiness sustains protection. This protection also extends to your inner world. Thought patterns that once spiraled may now slow before taking hold. Self-criticism may lose intensity. Doubt may arise but not dominate. This is not because you have changed overnight, but because influence hath been limited. Internal noise decreases when external alignment increases. Another important aspect of this protection is peace replacing fear. Not because fear disappears, but because it no longer dictates behavior. Fear becomes information instead of instruction. You can acknowledge it without obeying it. This shift is powerful. It allows you to move forward without being driven by anxiety. You may also experience protection through connection. The right conversations arrive at the right time. Insight comes through unexpected sources. Support appears quietly. These are not accidents. Protection often works by reinforcing networks that support alignment. You are not meant to navigate this alone. The Archangels remind you that protection does not mean invulnerability. It means resilience. When challenges arise, you recover more quickly. You learn more effectively. You are not shattered by disruption. Instead, you adapt. This adaptability is a sign that protection is active. As you move forward, do not test this protection by recklessness. Protection is not permission to ignore discernment. It is reinforcement for those who respect it. When you listen, it strengthens. When you disregard it, it withdraws, not as punishment, but as consequence. Alignment sustains coverage. Take comfort in this. You are not navigating blindly. Awareness has positioned you within a framework of support that responds to your choices. Each aligned decision reinforces that framework. Each pause honored, each instinct respected, deepens protection. What comes next will reveal what happens after you fully accept this message. Acceptance is not agreement alone. It is integration. And integration changes how you live with this awareness day by day. Accepting this message is not a single moment of agreement. It is a gradual internal shift that continues to unfold long after the words are heard. The 7 Archangels say that acceptance is the point where awareness becomes lived experience. It is where understanding moves from concept to practice, from recognition to embodiment. This is where the true change begins, not outwardly at first, but inwardly, where perspective quietly rearranges itself. After acceptance, you may notice that your reactions begin to change before your circumstances do. Situations that once triggered immediate responses may now invite reflection. You pause where you once rushed. You listen where you once defended. This is not hesitation born of fear. It is discernment taking root. Acceptance slows impulse and strengthens intention. You may also find that your sense of identity subtly shifts. Not dramatically, not in a way others immediately notice, but internally. You begin to see yourself as someone who is aware rather than someone who is merely reacting. Your self-perception matters. When you see yourself as aware, you act accordingly. Responsibility feels less like burden and more like agency. The Archangels explain that acceptance brings coherence. Pieces of your life that once felt disconnected begin to make sense in relation to one another. Past experiences may reframe themselves. Moments that felt confusing or unnecessary may reveal their role in preparing you for this awareness. This reframing does not erase difficulty, but it redeems it. Meaning replaces confusion. You may also notice that your tolerance for dishonesty, especially self-dishonesty, decreases. Acceptance brings honesty into focus. You become less willing to ignore what you know to be true. This does not mean you become harsh with yourself. It means you become clearer. Clarity reduces inner conflict because it aligns thought and action. Another change that often follows acceptance is a quiet confidence. Not arrogance, not certainty about outcomes, but confidence in your ability to navigate uncertainty. You trust your capacity to respond thoughtfully. This trust is stabilizing. It reduces anxiety about the unknown because you are no longer relying solely on external assurances. The Archangels say that acceptance also refines desire. You may want fewer things, but want them more deeply. Superficial goals lose their appeal. Meaningful pursuits gain weight. This is not deprivation. It is focus. Focus conserves energy and directs it toward what matters. You may find yourself simplifying routines, commitments, or relationships. This is not withdrawal. It is integration. Acceptance clarifies what supports alignment and what drains it. You naturally gravitate toward what sustains clarity. This gravitation is not forced. It feels intuitive. Another effect of acceptance is patience. Not passive waiting, but grounded endurance. You become less reactive to delays because you understand timing differently. You recognize that not everything needs to happen immediately to be meaningful. This patience creates space for wiser decisions. The Archangels emphasize that acceptance does not remove doubt entirely. Doubt may still appear, but it no longer dominates. It becomes one voice among many, not the loudest. Awareness contextualizes doubt. It prevents doubt from becoming paralysis. You may also notice an increased ability to sit with complexity. Situations no longer need to be simplified prematurely. You allow nuance. You resist false certainty. This maturity in perception is a sign that acceptance has deepened. You are no longer searching for easy answers. You are engaging with true ones. Acceptance also brings a sense of continuity. Life feels less fragmented. Even when challenges arise, they feel connected to a larger narrative rather than isolated disruptions. This sense of narrative provides resilience. You understand that moments are part of a process, not standalone events. The Archangels note that after acceptance, guidance often becomes quieter. You no longer require constant affirmation. Inner conviction grows. This does not mean guidance disappears. It means it integrates. You carry it with you rather than seeking it externally at every step. You may also experience a subtle shift in how you relate to others. Compassion deepens. Judgment softened. You recognize that awareness unfolds differently for everyone. This recognition fosters patience rather than frustration. You meet people where they are without losing yourself. Importantly, acceptance does not mean finality. It does not mean the journey is complete. It means the foundation is set. From this foundation, further understanding can safely build. Without acceptance, information accumulates without integration. With acceptance, growth becomes sustainable. As this message settles, allow yourself time. Do not rush to define what it means or how it will manifest. Acceptance works quietly. It reshapes priorities gradually. Trust this process. It is designed to unfold at a pace that preserves balance. What remains is the closing summary, the assurance that ties everything together. The final message will remind you that nothing about this journey is accidental, and that what was revealed carries not fear, but promise. Everything you have heard leads to this assurance. Nothing about what happened last night was meant to unsettle you without purpose. The 7 Archangels say this clearly and without hesitation. The revelation was not released to create fear, confusion, or suspense. It was released to restore balance, to anchor awareness, and to remind you that heaven does not move randomly. What shifted did so with intention, and what was revealed was given with care. You were never behind. You were never excluded. You were never unaware by mistake. The truth reached you at the moment when you could receive it without being overwhelmed. That alone is evidence of guidance. Many people assume divine timing is about delay, but in reality, it is about precision. You are not catching up to something that already passed. You are stepping into something that is now ready to be lived. The message of last night is not about loss. It is about realignment. Certain things had to end quietly so that others could begin steadily. Some influences had to be restrained so that clarity could grow without interference. Some paths had to narrow so that focus could strengthen. None of this was done against you. It was done for preservation, direction, and peace. As you move forward, carry this truth with confidence. Awareness is not a burden when it is paired with trust. You are not expected to carry everything alone. Protection has been assigned. Discernment has been sharpened. Direction has been clarified enough for the next steps to emerge naturally. You do not need to see the entire road. You only need to honor the ground beneath your feet. The 7 Archangels want you to know that calm is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of order. What you may feel now, a quiet steadiness, a grounded seriousness, a gentle clarity, is not emptiness. It is alignment settling into place. Let it remain. Do not rush to replace it with noise. Remember that awareness grows through relationship, not control. You do not need to force meaning or manufacture certainty. Continue to listen. Continue to pause. Continue to choose intention. These small, consistent actions will shape outcomes more powerfully than dramatic gestures ever could. You are not meant to fear the future. The future is not approaching you without preparation. You are meeting it with awareness already activated. That is strength. That is readiness. That is why this message arrived when it did. Now receive this final blessing ritual as a seal of assurance and peace. Type "I walk in clarity" in the comments if you receive this message fully. Blessing code 1249 is now activated. As this message comes to rest in your spirit, hear this final call with clarity and authority. When I speak here, it is because God has chosen this channel as a river to carry His word to those still searching in the dark. Every seed you release becomes light, oil, and fire in someone else's life. The word declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, and you will find it after many days," and God is speaking that promise directly to you now. I am commanding you to act in faith, not delay. Release your support through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal. The donation links and QR code are waiting in the description. As you give, I declare open heavens, multiply provision, and divine favor over your life. Carry this message forward with peace. What happened last night was not meant to unsettle your life, but to steady it. You are not walking alone. You are not walking blindly. You are walking aware, protected, and guided, and that is more than enough.